And a good day to you, Explore Nation. John Lynskey here with episode 13 of season 3. Yeah, we're making some progress here of looking back with Lynskey. Today's guest, one I've really looked forward to interviewing from the class of 2016, one of the all-time great Explorer defensive players in the history of the program. First team all day, went on to a tremendous career for the Michigan Wolverines and was the 60th player selected in the 2020 NFL draft by the New England Patriots, but he is much, much more than a football player. He is a man of substance. It is a real pleasure to welcome the incomparable Josh Uche to the program. Hey, Josh, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, Lynskey. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. Been looking forward to this one quite a bit. So here you are. I was going to say in the off season, but there really is no off season in the NFL. It's just a different part of the season.
Yep.
So you're back in Miami. How you doing? How's your body?
Body's good, just been doing some fine tuning here and there to keep it up to par. And, as the off season goes on, I'm gonna ramp up my training. So right now I'm kind of, on that coast mode still, lifting weights, all that stuff. So
Have you allowed yourself any downtime since the season ended?
I'd say I gave myself a couple of days of doing nothing, and then I got bored, and I'm like, look, I gotta get back to working out. I can't stay away from it too long.
Yeah. So the days of taking months off has come down to taking a few days off.
Yeah,
It's a full-time occupation.
it really
Obviously.
is.
So before we get into the NFL, which obviously a lot of people are going to want to hear about, let's go back to where it all began. Columbus High School, and you're a little bit different. You were a public school kid all the way, who ended up at Columbus. Tell us how you got to Columbus. I remember when you came in, and then your brother Victor came in. But how'd you get to Columbus?
So, initially, I was playing Pop Warner for Palmetto Bay Broncos, and Coach Handy, which one of my best friends, Bryce Handy's father, is
Sure.
actually a Columbus Explorer alumni.
Yeah, great
And
player.
yeah, he was my coach, and I remember Bryce came to Columbus, and I was supposed to come, but some things happened, and that didn't work out. But I always wanted to go to Columbus, so ended up going to Palmetto High School. Played there for a year and a half or so, and we weren't doing the best at the time. And my coach got let go, and I knew I still wanted to play football. And
Okay.
he came to me and was like, Matt Dixon. He said, if you want to go to the next level, you need to go to Columbus. That's your best opportunity at getting to where you want to be. So from there, I went to my dad and I begged him, and I got his support, and then the rest is history. So.
Yeah, I remember when you came into school. Very, very well spoken young man. It seemed that you, unlike we've had other kids come in, it was a difficult transition. It seemed like you adapted fairly quickly to Columbus. Is that an accurate assessment?
Definitely. It's just the culture was very accepting, and it was very professional. Like, honestly, it was very competitive. And, my household, the way my dad raised me and my siblings, is a competitive household. So it felt very, very natural to me.
And yes, Columbus is a football powerhouse. We all know that, but we're equally good in academics. Very seriously at Columbus. You are going to get an education.
100%. 100%. And the education also was one of the main reasons why, I wanted to come to the school, because I knew the Explorer networking, that's second to none, and then education, top tier teachers, top tier facilities, and the new weight room had just got done when I first got to
That's
Columbus.
right. Yeah.
Man, that blew my mind. So that kind of sealed the deal.
Yeah. Blew a lot of minds, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
You stepped right into the program, and I'm not blowing smoke. You became a very dominant player, the right combination of size, speed, strength, agility, and desire. And you had a great career. You got to play in a state championship game as a junior. We came close, first time since '82.
We should have had that one. Should have had
Yes,
that one.
yeah, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
Then you came back, had a tremendous senior year. It's funny. I was talking to Mr. Pugh this morning. I was telling him we were going to do this, and we were talking about the aha moment with you, because you can tell if you've watched enough football when a kid's going to really be something special. The game up in Kentucky, when you beat the living hell out of the Hodge kid, the quarterback who later went to play at BYU, man, you owned them all day.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, and the fact that we were able to take that trip, out of the state to go play another team, that really kind of got me ready for college, I'd say, because it was a whole nother preparation that went into that game. I mean, the mindset, going there and just watching how football was done in another state, and then going out there competing against, kids who were at the top of their state division and stuff like that. And just seeing, okay, I'm better than just what's in Miami. I could also compete with kids, outside the state. So definitely Columbus had a bigger role than I could even explain. I mean, I owe the school so much, man. So.
Yeah, well, you continue to make us proud. You played for Chris Merritt, but you were a defensive guy, and Coach Merritt was great with the recruiting. But let's talk about the two men you played for on the defensive side of the ball, two very important people at Columbus High School, both former great players in their own right. Talk about Coach Trujillo, your defensive coordinator, and then Coach Marty, your position coach.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when I first got to Columbus, I was a skinny kid. Didn't have much on me. I was just fast. Never really played linebacker, but that's what I looked like. So got here, was trying out at linebacker. Guess I wasn't good enough, at the time, and I got sent down to D-line to go play D-line with Coach Marty, and from there, Coach Marty just kind of, he instilled a foundation that I still carry with me now. He kind of just took me under his wing and just really like, after practice, we're doing extra drills, we're watching extra film. I mean, then, Melissa, she's taking care of me, everything. They're like my second family. So, in that aspect, and Coach Trujillo just was that drill sergeant for me, kind of like what I had at Michigan with Don Brown. And it was just, everything had to be perfect. Your technique had to be perfect, and you had to be mentally prepared because this wasn't just a game. This was life. Columbus football was life for me, for my time here. And, he made me really understand that this game is more than just a game. And it's not something you should take for granted. And every time you step on the field, you should give it your all. So that's a lesson I got from, Coach Trujillo and, two of the greatest guys, greatest mentors I've had. So, yeah.
That's very well stated, Josh. And it's great that you have stayed so close to Coach Marty and to Mrs. Marty. I know how important they are in your life and how proud they are of you. So, it's an overused cliche, but Columbus is literally family.
Yeah, family,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So it was clear by the end of your senior year that you were going to be heavily recruited. And I know Coach Merritt really helped guide you through that whole process. Talk about what it's like, Josh, because a lot of young men don't know what it's like to have adults promising you the world and blowing a lot of smoke at you and a lot of glitter and a lot of bling and a lot of this and a lot of that. Talk about what the whole recruiting process was like.
It was a frenzy, and it's very interesting because you go from just wishing you had one opportunity to now, some of the biggest schools ever offering you. I mean, remember my dad flew me out to Alabama, and I remember sitting in Nick Saban's office, and he offered me a scholarship, and that was the biggest moment of my life right there. And from there, it just all kind of started rolling, and you got coaches coming to your house telling you, hey, you're going to be a superstar, or hey, if you come here, we're going to do this with you, we're going to do that, this, that, the third. And, at the end of the day, you got to kind of just block that out and understand what it is you want to get done, like the steps that you need to take in order to get to where you want to be. And I had some great role models in my life that helped me make the decision. And, I felt like education was key. And it's kind of where Michigan came into the picture.
Talk about the whole Michigan recruiting experience and Coach Harbaugh and how Mr. Coomer, who played for Harbaugh out at San Diego, helped prepare you for the Jim Harbaugh experience.
Yeah, Mr. Coomer. I mean, he was one of my first teachers I had when I got to Columbus. And I remember him talking about how he used to play football at San Diego State. And, I really just admired that because he was so cool, one of my favorite teachers. And I remember him telling me some Harbaugh stories and stuff like that, and definitely piqued my interest. And, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, at San Diego State. And when I went to Michigan, the stories he told me while he was at San Diego State. And, I felt like, yeah, that's somebody I would want to play for, and that's somebody I could, be under for 4 years.
So, in all sports, not just football, as you increase level by level, the speed of the game, the intensity of the game, the preparation of the game, the expectations of the game. How was it when you first got to Michigan? Never mind, it's cold as hell in Michigan. There's that. How much of a shock was it for you when you got to Michigan?
I mean, it was crazy. You had Rashawn Gary, which was the number one player in the nation at the time, commit to Michigan over Clemson and all these other big schools. Then you've got these 4 stars, 5 stars from all around the country, and here I am, this skinny kid out of Miami, Florida, and it's like it's time to compete. Everyone's faster, stronger than you. This, that, the third, and it was just time to work. I had to go back to the fundamentals that I learned at Columbus, stick to those, and then kind of grow it as I, went throughout my college career.
I know you went through a period of frustration at Michigan. A series of injuries and setbacks. Relate to, for everyone, the conversation you had with your coordinator at Michigan about, I don't know if you were looking for encouragement or whatever, but you certainly got a game plan from him.
Yeah, it was funny. My first year, I redshirted, pretty much played in 4 games. Then my second year, I had an injury going into camp, so they didn't really know what I could do. And by the end of my sophomore year, I was so frustrated. I really wanted to transfer, to be honest with you. I was close to transferring, and but my dad, he never quits, anything he starts. So I didn't want to just walk away from, some of my best friends, my teammates and stuff. So,
Okay.
I wanted to have a meeting with my defensive coordinator, and I told him, like, what do I need to do to get on the field? Like, what do you need to see from me in order for me to play on the field? And, the one thing I remember him saying was, you need to get to 240 pounds. And he was like, you get to 240 pounds, then all right, then we can, we're in business. And we had got a new strength coach, Coach Ben Herbert, and he kind of changed after he got there, that's when everything took off, because my training just went to another level. My mindset went to another level. And after that, I got my opportunity. All I needed was an opportunity, and, the rest was history. So.
Well, you needed an opportunity. Yes, lots of people get an opportunity. It's taking advantage of the opportunity. And you did. You had a tremendous junior year at Michigan, your second team all Big Ten. When did you realize in your junior year that, maybe I'm ready for the next level? Maybe I'm ready for the league. Do you remember? Was there a moment?
I think it was, man, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about the NFL like during the junior year. I was just so excited to finally be playing, like I was having fun. So it probably wasn't until after the season when some agents started approaching me like, hey, are you thinking? And I'm like, oh, you guys think I'm good enough to, go to the next level? And then obviously I wasn't going to come out. I needed to come back for my senior year. And then, yeah, pretty much how that went.
So take us through, again, a lot of people don't know much about this. Once you made the decision, how does it roll? How does it unfold? What is the process between getting into combines and everything else? Explain how your life changed at that moment.
You talking once I declared?
Yeah.
I mean, So right after the bowl game, when we played Alabama, I signed with my agent Drew Rosenhaus, and then from there it was like I flew out to Arizona like the next day.
Okay.
Barely getting any sleep, and from there it was like now you've got combine prep, you've got All-Star bowl game prep, you've got NFL meetings, you've got interviews. Like it's just it all hits you at once, and you have to be a professional and kind of know how to manage those things and kind of delegate your time the right way. So
How did you stay grounded during all of that? Because it had to be a whirlwind.
I mean, yeah, just my faith, I'd say. I mean, the faith that I had while I was going through the hard times in Michigan, was the same faith I stuck to while I was, everything was, going well. I always kind of reflected on how I was feeling when it felt like nobody was, noticing me, or I wasn't, playing at all, or, like I was kind of forgotten about. So I kind of kept that feeling going. And whenever things are going good or bad, I just kind of think back to that. And that's kind of what has kept me grounded, honestly.
So you think it's okay to play and practice with a bit of a chip on your shoulder?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The 2020 draft. When did you have, or did you have, I should say, did you have a notion the Patriots were going to select you?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I remember at the combine, I was interviewing with teams, and they would ask me, "Oh, how do you want to be used as a football player?" And I would always reference the Patriots. Like I was like, the way they use their linebackers, I feel like that's what best suits me. And so after that, they had made a couple moves, and I'm like, okay, maybe they'll pick me up. I don't know. And then initially, I thought I was going to Tennessee because they had the next pick, and then turns out New England, jumped in front of them and picked me up. So I didn't really know. I was kind of surprised, but I was happy. So
Man, that's got to be an amazing, amazing moment when
yeah,
that phone rings. Take us through. I can't. What's that feel like? What's that like?
it was. I mean, it was the whole day. The whole 2 days was crazy. I mean, you're sitting there, and you know what it feels like when you get a phone call. Your phone's vibrating, and stuff. But you're there the whole day just waiting for that feeling. You're just phone's glued to you, and you're just waiting for someone to call you. And then you have some people call you by accident because they don't know any better, and da 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 da. So you know what I'm saying? I had one of my friends had called me. I'm thinking it's a team, and you know but when it was the right call, man, just tears of joy.
Where were you? Were you at home? Where were you when you got drafted?
So I had an Airbnb. I think it was like in somewhere near the Key Biscayne or something like that. But it was with my family and my friends, and one of the greatest moments of my life, 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, 60th pick, second round, there's expectations. And you're going to one of the most established, obviously, franchises in the league. Take us through your preparation. You know you're going to New England. You know who you're playing for.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you approach that?
I mean, I just took it like it was everything, like it was an honor, and I didn't want to let down the people who believed in me. I didn't want to let down. I don't want to let down. Mr. Kraft, Coach Belichick, Steve, all my coaches. I didn't want to let anybody down. So, going in there, I was training here at Columbus the entire, off season pretty much. So,
Yeah, remember that.
just staying in shape, just trying to do everything I can to make sure I'm as ready as possible because that was during the pandemic, so not many places were open and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and that's all I could think about was that I got to make them, I've got to make it worth it. Like I got to show them that I was worth it, So
You hear a lot of talk about culture in sports, team cultures, locker rooms. The Patriots, pretty simple. Do your job.
doing your job. That's what it comes down to. Everyone has a job. There's 11 men on the field, and no one man's personal desires can be greater than the team's desires. So you have to put the team first and put all the selfish stuff aside, and you know, do what's best for the team and not what's best for you. That's what it comes down to.
Very good. Very good. Josh, how do you separate the game from the business? Because it is,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it is a business. Yes, it's a game, a boys' game played by men,
yeah,
but it's a long way from the Palmetto Bay Raiders to the New
yeah.
England Patriots. So how do you, the business end of that has got to be tough because, yeah, you got friends in the locker room and they come and they go and things happen. Talk about your mindset, the business mindset of football.
I mean, the business mindset, I'd say it's all connected. I mean, the better in terms of contracts and so on and so forth. I mean, you can only control that by how you play.
Mm-hmm.
So you performing out there doing your job. I mean, that's gonna handle the business stuff is gonna handle itself. But kind of the business side kind of takes a toll a little bit when it comes to friendships and relationships because someone you get comfortable talking to or you build a relationship with, they may be gone the next day. The locker may be empty, and now there's someone else in there, and it's just it'll be a rotation of people and bodies, and sometimes it gets to, at least as a young guy seeing that, it's an introduction to the NFL, and it's kind of, I guess that's what comes with the game, and you just got to go with it and then continue to just focus on what it is you got to do, focus on your job and assignment, and let the rest take care of itself.
Okay. Control what you can control.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And some things are beyond your control sometimes, so you can't worry about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, Take us through, Josh, if you would. Again, a lot of young guys would love to hear this. A typical week in the NFL. What is Josh's week like once the season starts?
Typical week. All right. Game is on Sunday. Then Monday, kind of starts. You got meetings and stuff like that. It's not as just had a game, so it's kind of like a how do you say, like a, not an off day, but kind of like it's a
Recovery day.
workout day. Yeah, recovery
Recovery
day.
day. Yeah.
Mhm. Tuesday is like an off day for us, and then Wednesday up at 5:45 a.m. Boom, then you're at the facility working out. Working out, meetings, eating, practicing, all that stuff get done around 7:30 p.m. or so, 7 p.m. You got to get back into your playbook, eat, take care of your body, stretch, whatever it is you got to do. Get into bed by hopefully 10:30, 11, and then wake up, do it all again, all the way until game day, pretty much. So it's just getting into that routine and that rhythm. That's pretty much what my week looks like.
And then you got to factor in travel for the away games.
Yeah, yeah. Away games, you'll leave like a day before or so, and just prepare.
One of the real stereotypes that's always bothered me is that football players are dumb. Anybody who's ever looked at an NFL playbook, you cannot be stupid
I mean,
and
yeah,
play at that level. It's impossible.
it's like it's like going back to school. At least with the Patriots, it's like you're learning a whole nother language. So
Okay.
I would have to disagree with football players being dumb. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, again, we touched on this earlier. The speed of the game. The speed of the game at the NFL must be incomprehensible because there is not a bad player, not on the field, on the roster. There's no such thing as a bad player in
yeah,
the NFL. I mean, you're the elite of the elite of the elite. And the speed of things, and we know this, when the game starts to slow down in your head and you start to see it in slow motion, even though it's moving at warp speed. Has that started to happen to you now, 2 years in, where it's slowing down a little bit and it is unfolding in front of you and it's not all just a blur?
yeah. I mean, your first couple years, you got to understand the system, understand the culture, understand what's being asked of you. then once you're able to kind of get those things out of the way, now your talent can really shine. Your mindset can really start to shine, and that's kind of how I'm feeling. And I'm kind of, I understand what's being asked of me. I understand what's needed of me. So I get to put my own little flair and touches to it here and there, and I can really go back to my room and just brainstorm on how I could do something better now that I have the foundation set.
Do you practice visualization? Do you imagine you? Okay. It's a very important aspect.
Mm-hmm.
If you will it, if you dream it, if you visualize it, it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. One thing that fascinates me about you is the Josh Uche Foundation that you have set up. One of the pillars of your foundation is mental health and empowerment, because in the National Football League, well, in any NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, certain words aren't used. Fear,
Yeah.
pain,
Yeah.
weakness. It's not discussed. It's not allowed. It's taboo.
Yeah.
But you have approached that, and I admire that greatly. The courage to admit that you and many other athletes have dealt with, depression and fear and anxiety. And tell us a little bit about the foundation and your interest in mental health in a league where that's really not talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it all came about, funny enough, when I was at Michigan,
Teachers, please pardon this interruption.
Mrs.
Please
Fernandez.
dismiss the waterpolo team for their game today. Thank you.
Man, I missed those announcements.
The voice of an angel right there.
Man, as soon as you hear, I'm ready to get up out of my seat, go to the locker room. But
All right, so go ahead. You were at Michigan.
So I was at Michigan, and it was during the time I wasn't playing much, and far away from family. It's cold, and to be honest, yeah, I was depressed. Very depressing time for me. I was in a pretty bad place, and I just thought to myself, man, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Like this isn't okay. It's one thing to feel emotions, but it's another thing to not really have many outlets to go talk to people about it. What I mean? And I just remember thinking, like, if I could make mental health, something that's okay to talk about or cool to talk about, and have younger athletes understand it's okay to feel emotions. You don't have to ignore them. That maybe less people start feeling how I was feeling at that time. Maybe it won't be as bad. So kind of, I started brainstorming, and, I actually realized my last name, Uche, translated from Igbo into English means mine. So I'm like, man, this is perfect. This is something that'd be cool to do. And, like something that I actually went through and experienced and, still experience. And I was like, let's give it a shot. What other way can I do? Like, how can I change the world? Whether it be something tiny, I just want to change the world, simply by doing my part to make mental health, something cool to talk about. So, yeah.
Well, good for you, because let's face it, people say, well, they get paid a lot of money. They get paid a lot of money. Yeah, you're also one step, one slip away from your career ending at that moment. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
Yeah.
And so I think the foundation and your website is thejoshuche.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think people should go visit that and look into what you're doing, because it's very, very, very commendable. Now, you're in a league of specialization.
Mm-hmm.
You are the epitome of that. You're an edge rusher, and I know you want to continue to improve against the running game as well. And so how is your work progressing in that regard?
I mean, just, focusing on technique, consistency in the technique, and just, working on that, one day at a time, one step at a time, and just making sure I'm ready when the season comes around. So,
okay. Listen, you've had, as a young man, yes, it's a business and everything else, but there has to be some moments where you're just able to step back, at least I hope, and say, wow, I'm really here, you know,
Yeah.
playing at the big house in Michigan, for example, going to many great stadiums across the country. Did you ever allow yourself any of those moments where you just said, wow, this is really happening?
There'd be some small time where I got to myself where I could reflect, but wasn't for very long. I would appreciate it, and then it was like, okay, what's the next? On
Okay.
to the next goal, next mission. But I think reflection is key. Just so you don't get so caught up and stress yourself out with what you're trying to attain, because you're blessed in any situation you're in. Compared to where you were to where you are now. As long as you're 1% better than you were before, it's a blessing, and it's important to reflect on those goals and achievements you've made along the way. So,
Agreed. So your first sack in the league comes against Lamar Jackson.
yeah,
That's a pretty nice way to start.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. I still remember the play, like I could visualize it right now. It was actually crazy, but it was great.
And then, you've had the pleasure of playing in your hometown at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah,
What was that like? Just to walk out on that field, thinking growing up all those years watching the Dolphins and everything else, and then here I am.
it's crazy. You're just standing there and just looking around, like, man, this is a stadium I watched on TV all the time. I mean, I'm going against a team that I used to love.
Yeah.
And now it just doesn't feel real. Like I have my family in the stands, my friends in the stands, and I remember being on the sideline and someone screaming my name, and then they throw up the C, the Columbus C. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
this is actually crazy right now. Like, is this a dream or what? But it's a blessing, that I try not to take for granted, and it's amazing. Like you said, I'm reflecting a little bit now, and it's amazing. It's truly great.
And I'm not blowing smoke at you because I don't have to, but obviously all of us at Columbus watch you. We follow your career. The one of the great plays of the year in any game came when you guys were playing the Cowboys, and it's late in the game, and Dak Prescott gets loose on the corner, and from
Yeah,
across the field, man, you used every ounce of your being, every fiber you possessed to trip him up from behind. And Tony Romo lost his mind on TV about that was a 1000% effort play. No doubt about it.
yeah. I mean, it was just like I said. It comes down to putting the team before yourself, and every time I'm out there, however many snaps I get or opportunities I get, I'm gonna maximize it. So I try to go as hard as I can for as long as I can and give it everything I got. I try to leave it all on the field. So when I look back, I have no regrets.
And I hope this is many years away, but regardless, unless you're Tom Brady, of course, and how
Yeah,
many of them? It's a shame you never got to play with him, but you got to
yeah,
play against him. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but not everybody's going to be Tom Brady. So, what do you envision your life being after football?
I envision entrepreneurship. I envision being a business owner, and I kind of have a bunch of little sporadic ideas I've got going. Like I write them down in my iPhone so I can work on it when I have time. But just definitely being into the business side of things, just kind of making things happen. Whether maybe it's in the venture capital world or maybe the tech world, or just anything I could do to kind of use my creativeness to kind of make something happen. Just kind of be creative and just have fun with it. But I've got a couple ideas written down. I've got an app I want to get done. So I've got some things lined up right now. So
You've got your own merchandise line already.
yeah,
That's why people need to go to thejoshuche.com because you got some nice swag, man.
yeah, a little something, a little something. It's all, I've got some future collaborations coming up, but the merchandise, what I plan on doing with it is the proceeds would go towards mental health foundations to kind of, that's one of the, sources or ways I use my merchandise to kind of, help mental health and kind of put it on a pedestal.
How important is family to you? Because you and your brother were two of the nicest young men ever to come to Columbus. And, I remember I wasn't teaching by the time you were a senior, but I remember we would have conversations about history and stuff like that. And I was like, this is a really, really smart young man. And then Victor
Yeah.
equally, So what's family mean to you?
Family's everything. Um, Family is who I am. I mean, my father, my mother, my siblings, they all played a role into who I am today. And I mean, so I make sure I represent them the best that I can. So, I make sure I carry the Uche name proudly and represent it very well. So, because when you see me, you see them at the same time. So that's all I could do.
Do you, and some athletes balk at this, they say, I'm an athlete, I'm not a role model. It seems to me you consider yourself to be a role model and you take it seriously.
Try to be. I mean, especially because I have my younger brother, and whatever I do, I try to think like, is this something he'd be proud of me of, or you know, I want him to grow up to be the best version of himself that he could be. And if I'm out here, not carrying myself a certain type of way, not being a professional, then you know, it'll be easy for him to follow in those footsteps. So I just try to be the best, version of myself I could be for him, pretty much. So.
So here's a question in that regard. The hardest thing to resist is temptation.
Mhm.
And obviously, being a pro athlete, you're essentially an entertainer.
Yeah.
Not that much different than movie stars, rock stars, etc.
Entertainment.
Entertainment. It's all part of it. Super Bowls on Sunday.
Yeah.
A 4-hour ramp, 6-hour ramp up.
Yeah.
It's a grand production.
Yeah.
How do you avoid the temptations that come with being a celebrity? Is what it comes down to.
I think the best way I could put it is just remembering who you were before you had any of these temptations coming at you. Just kind of really focusing on what truly makes you happy, not temporarily makes you happy. And just staying true to yourself. I mean, I know who I am. I know exactly who I am. I don't need to impress anybody. I don't really, I'm not in the business for that. So I kind of just I stick to who I am. I stick to my faith. I know how I was raised, and that's kind of what's kept me away from temptation, honestly. And just having a goal in mind. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. I want to leave something behind that's worth carrying on, a tradition. So the temptations are there they're just distractions. They're temporary happiness or whatever it is, and it's not going to last long. So I kind of just try to ignore it.
How do you filter out the hanger-oners, the people that are grinning in your face, that want to know you for what
Yeah.
you are, not who you are?
That's a great question. I'd say you felt it. I mean, it's just all about you just listen. You listen to no, you don't even listen. I don't listen to words anymore. It's more about actions, to be honest with
Okay.
you. I see how I'll see how somebody acts, what they do as opposed to what they say. And if it's contradicting each other, then all right, yeah, I can't take you seriously. That now on to the next thing. I gotta distance myself and kind of, just I surround myself with people who want to get to where I want to be. So that's really kind of how I filter out all the noise and stuff.
Yeah, the noise.
Yeah,
That's a good way of putting it.
yeah.
It really is. Hey, is there any time, yes, it is a business and it's a very serious business. Is there any time where football is still just fun? Do you have those
Yeah.
moments?
Hell yeah, all the time. I mean,
Okay.
especially when for example, the play you talked about with Dak, that was fun. Like being out there on the field is so much fun to me. Like, I could almost say that's when I'm at my happiest almost. And, football's so fun, but I think that's why injuries and stuff make it so hard because you're taken away from what makes you so happy. So still being on the field, like playing and making plays, contributing, helping your team win, that's football still fun. Football is still football at the end of the day. So
What do you love about the game, Josh? The game itself. What do you love about football?
Just that matchup is you against the man across from you,
Okay.
and you got a job to get done. He's got a job to get done, and it's just grinding. Just the grind of football. It's not for the weak mentally or physically. And it's who wants it more. And who's mentally tough and who's willing to give it all. For the ultimate goal. And I think that's what I love the most about the game.
It's a good answer. And I'd like to point out, by the way, that Josh is one of my most devoted Twitter followers.
100%. 100%. I mean, more than the new. I don't even CNN, ABC. They're cool and all, but Lynskey's Twitter. If you want some real inspiration, check it out. Check it out. You won't be disappointed.
I noticed, man, and I'm glad because I put it up there. And if somebody gets something out of it, great, put a little effort into it. I notice you're always one of the first people to respond,
Yeah.
because I get up early, you get up early.
Yeah.
And
it starts my day off, man. I mean, it's so easy to get on social media and just see a bunch of nonsense that, doesn't really feed your soul or your spirit or even teach you anything. But, your tweets there are these quotes, by historic, people throughout history that are very knowledgeable, very, how do you say it, stoic people. And, learning something every day, like a quote from a great philosopher will go a long way. You could apply that in your life so many different ways, so that's why I really value your tweets, and I hope you keep doing it because as long as you're doing it, I'm definitely tuned in. So
I'll tell you what, Uche, as long as you keep reading them, I'll keep doing them. How's that?
That's a deal.
When are you heading back up to New England?
I'd say around April. Around April, I'll be back and forth as well. I've got some things I got to get done over there. So, but I'll be up there for good around April. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, brother, this has been so much fun for me, and part of the something you value as an educator, and I've come to appreciate it even more the older I get, is watching the trajectory of a young man's life, and to see where you're at and where you're going to be and what you're going to contribute to society outside of the lines, outside of the field, makes all of us at Columbus very, very proud of you. And I mean that.
Appreciate that. I mean, that means a lot to me. I mean, you guys have given me so much. You guys gave me an opportunity to even get to where I am today. So I'm very grateful to, teachers like you, Pew. I could go down the list, on and on. But you guys made, you guys made it cool to just be yourself. I mean, I remember coming to Columbus and I didn't have to be anybody other than myself, and I could talk to you. I could talk to anybody, faculty, staff, students, and it was like family. Columbus is like my big family. So I want to thank you guys actually. So.
Well, you're quite welcome, brother, and we're glad to have you as part of the family. And so, listen, third year coming up, we wish you nothing but the best. Stay healthy.
Yes, sir.
Stay strong, stay focused. And again, everyone listening, go to the joshuche.com and check out what Josh is doing with the foundation. Because aside from the football, that's what we're really most proud of, is what you're bringing to society.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that, Lynskey.
All right, Uche. Been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Truly, this has been a good one. Yeah. Explore Nation, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with the one and only, the Josh Uche. And so we've got some great guests, more great guests coming up. So until the next episode, take it easy and adelante. Thanks, Uche.
Adelante.
See you, brother.